Welcome to another edition of American Patriot, the 3% Podcast. I am your host, Charlie01, and this is episode 15. But before we begin, if everybody could please stand, face the flag, put your hand over your heart, or salute it. Make sure that you take off your hats and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And this episode is going to be different. This is going to be a preparedness episode in light of the water situation in Flint, Michigan, even though I'm sure that this is the case throughout the country anyways, and as even liberal media has pointed out, there's more than just Flint in Michigan that's having issues with lead in their water. This episode, I am going to be talking about water storage. Well, pretty much water in general for drinking and utility purposes, such as washing up and bathing. But, the biggest thing here is water, drinkable water, or potable water. And the first thing is acquiring water or gathering water. Now, in a situation like we have right now, where it is not like a grid down situation or anything like that, the easiest ways to get water would be either buying it from the store, which is way too expensive for what it is, and tap water, which even if you have to pay city water prices, or pay the government for the water usage, it's still, a fraction of what it costs to buy water in the stores. So the tap water would be probably your best bet. Otherwise, buying water in bulk from grocery stores. You can buy it in the bottles, you can buy it in the gallon jugs, you can buy it in the 5-gallon water jugs for like the water coolers. I do recommend that if you do buy water in the gallon jug, I would almost recommend switching it to a different storage method, just because a lot of times you see the water in like the milk jugs, the 1-gallon milk jugs, and they're so fragile. I mean, really just having them sit on the floor for a year or 2 years, I've seen them where they'll just puncture, just randomly. They're not built for long-term storage. The other thing is, when you buy it from the store, the seal on top of them is not the best seal. I mean, it's just enough to keep it from spilling, but in a case where you have like a flood, flood would be probably the best example, or like if you're storing it in your basement and your basement floods because of the weather, the seal that's on top of pretty much anything that you buy from the store with water in it isn't going to keep out any of the contaminants that are in the water. So there's that. I still say tap water is probably your best method. Bottles of water are nice just because you can take them on the go. But you could do the same thing with an Nalgene water bottle or one of the other water bottles, Camelback water bottles, anything like that you can buy in the store. Just fill it up with some tap water and take it with you. It's a whole lot cheaper too. But say the grid does go down, or whatever village, town, city that you live in, the water isn't available due to power outages, and yes, I know all of them do have backup generators, but there's only a limited matter of time for those generators to run. Most of them run off of diesel or gas, and if they can't keep the fuel going to it, they can't keep it running, so it won't keep supplying the town with water. But there's water rain catchment systems that you can buy commercial ones, or you can even just set up your own. As simple as taking a tarp and staking it up in your backyard with poles just to catch water, and then what you'd want to do is you just have to alter the tarp or figure out a way to make that tarp run the water into a storage container. And water itself, I mean, you're looking at, as far as a rain catchment system, you're looking at a massive amount, more water than what you would expect to be gathered with that. I've also seen people where they've set up their roof on their house for water catchment, along with the use of the eaves troughs. And you can do that. Metal roofs probably work the best. I don't know if I would drink the water that comes off of a tar shingle roof without a lot of treatment afterwards. I would probably use, and really anything that comes off of the roof as a runoff, I would almost use that more as like a secondary water source, like for watering your garden, plants, washing up, stuff like that. I don't know whether I would necessarily drink, especially, like I said, off of a tar shingle roof. I don't know whether I'd really drink that. I mean, there are methods to sterilize that, sanitize that water for drinking, and I'll cover that a little bit farther on. But if you have a metal roof, that works good, and it's a whole lot easier to filter the water or sanitize the water for that. There's also, sorry about the noises. I'm in the mobile studio today recording, and right now it is sleeting here, so that'd be what that background popping noise is sleet hitting the windows. But as I was saying, there's also natural sources such as rivers, streams, ponds, lakes, all of that. Just the best way to figure out that whether there's chemicals in that water source, or the type of filtering, that how specific you have to be with sanitizing that water. For rivers and streams, you really want to know what is upstream or up the river, where the water's coming from, whether it's coming from a major metropolitan area with like industrial along the sides of the river. Lakes are a whole lot easier. Lakes are normally either, well, most of them are spring fed, or it's dissipated enough to, split up the toxins that may be in it. I mean, you'd still want to sanitize it, but if there's any chemicals in the water, it's probably been, split up enough. If it's a big enough lake, you still want to sanitize pretty much any natural water source, unless you know that you are getting it directly from the mouth of the spring. I mean, if it's bubbling up out of the ground and you know that it's clean, you may be okay. I mean, personally, I'd still sanitize any water source that I had. But rivers, streams, lakes, ponds. With ponds, also you want to, depending on the size of the pond, what's living in the pond, there's a lot of different factors. Another method would be pools, hot tubs, water heaters, toilet tanks, pretty much anything that already has existing water in it, that it would be like man-made. And when I say existing water, I'm generally meaning already clean water somewhat. I mean, if a pool or a hot tub, if the water hasn't been sterilized or sanitized, it starts to turn green and filled with algae and everything, which isn't necessarily bad. You can clean that, filter it, and everything else as well. But with pool and hot tubs also, it's going to have a high chlorine concentration, because that right there is that's what keeps the algae at bay and keeps keeps the water sanitized. So until that stuff evaporates off, it will taste really, really bad. And you can actually add to I shouldn't say add. Well, yeah, you could add to the chlorine level if you tried doing something like boiling the water. The best thing for either one of those is to take the water out of it and take out as much as you need at a time and let the chlorine sort of evaporate off of it. Then you might want to throw it through a water filter. As long as the algae hasn't started growing in it, it should be okay. But I usually would water filter it first. If it does have chlorine in it, you can drink it, but it's gonna taste horrible. You could add. Well, and it just depends. You have to look at the chemicals that are in it. But normally it's just high doses of chlorine. But you could add like Kool-Aid mix or something like that to make it taste better. It still doesn't fully take out the taste. But those are just some different methods of gathering water or acquiring water. Sanitizing the water. There is all kinds of different methods, from store-bought filters. Berkey makes a really good water filter, but they are very expensive. But you can buy cheap filters as low as, I think you can get some of the Sawyer ones for like $15-$20, and those supposedly will filter up to 100,000 gallons a lot of times. They can't freeze. You can't let them freeze at all. But that's one method. Or you can't let them freeze and use it while they're frozen. It does ruin the filtration of it. There is the bleach method, which is about the same thing as what you have with pool water. Depending on the amount of water you have and how clear the water is, there's different amounts of bleach drops that you put into that quantity of water. And you can find all kinds of charts online. I'll try to put one on this on the notes for this episode as well. I have used this method. The only problem with the bleach is bleach does have a shelf life. And the older the bleach is, the less effective it is. I believe it's about for a while there, that was my main course of sanitizing water. And the only bleach that you can use is you have to use something that's unscented, doesn't have any other chemicals in it. But just standard Clorox bleach is what I was using. And like I said, I used it for quite a while until I actually had the money to start getting filters and everything. And you can buy glass, like medicine droppers, I guess you could call them. But these bottles that are safe they have to be pretty much FDA compliant and everything, but they have glass droppers themselves with like a little rubber ball on the end that you use to squeeze and everything else to siphon the bleach up into the actual dropper itself. And I think I picked up 3 of those on eBay probably 4 years ago for, I think it was $6 for all of them with the shipping. You do have to watch it because the bleach will start to eat the seal on them if you allow it to sit on its side. But I had one of those in my bug out bag, and I would just change out the bleach every 6 months to make sure that it was fresh bleach. Of course, that was depending on whether or not I had a fresh bottle of bleach at home, and usually it was sort of coincided with when I would buy a new bottle of bleach anyways, but it wasn't that hard, and it does give it that pool water taste. So Kool-Aid or tea or coffee or something else you usually want to add to it. You can drink it straight, but it tastes really bad. But that's one method. That's a cheap and easy method. Another method is iodine, of course. Everybody's seen the iodine tablets that you can buy in the camping section of stores and everything, and that also adds a really distinct flavor to the water. That's why they actually have a 2-part system for those. Sometimes if you go into like Walmart or something, you might see it's like 2 different bottles, little glass jars or whatever, in a package. One is a stabilizer after you use the iodine, and what it does is it makes the water taste better, stabilizes the flavor of the water. But there's that. The only issue with that is, compared to the bleach method, I've read where people can have people are more susceptible to like iodine allergy. It can cause more problems than bleach, but there is that method. Next, there's boiling water, which, as long as there's no chemicals in the water, should be fine. It should sanitize it completely. With the water over in Flint, you definitely wouldn't want to boil the water and then drink the boiled water, because it's going to concentrate the lead content more, because what you have is when the water evaporates, you have the actual clean water particles leaving, and what it's doing is it's just giving you less water with more lead, or with the same lead content. So in essence, you're just concentrating the lead content in it. But what you could do is you can boil the water and catch the condensation, and that should leave all of the heavy metals out of it. But you can do that and drink the water from the condensation. And depending on the chemicals that would be in the water, you can do that. I believe it, as far as I know, you can sanitize almost any water with using the evaporated water. I mean, they do that for salt water for like the ocean and stuff. That's one way of having clean water. But there's that method. Otherwise, just boiling the water. If the water's dirty, it should still kill off almost any bacteria that's in that water. And as far as like how long to boil water, really to sanitize water by boiling, really you only have to, I think the temperature to get water drinkable is you are supposed to get the water to 180 degrees for, I think it's like 20 minutes or half an hour straight. But every degree over 180 degrees lowers that time range of how long it has to be at that temperature. And really, all you have to do, if the water is clear, all you have to do is bring that water to a rolling boil, and it'll be at that time. It will kill off everything. You just have to bring it to a rolling boil. And in situations where water is scarce, once it hits the rolling boil, shut off the heat. Pull it aside, cover it up so you don't lose any more condensation any more water through condensation than you have to. And even if you don't trust the fact that bringing it to the boil has killed off everything, as Jack Spirko from the Survival Podcast has put it in the past, you have to let the water cool down before you can drink it anyways. So it could take 10 minutes just to get the water cool enough to actually drink. So so you have the water it's going to consistently drop down in temperature, and it'll be above 180 degrees probably for at least 5 minutes, unless you're outside and freezing cold or something. But there's those methods right there. As I said before, filtering, you can get water filters. There are ways that you can make your own filters with sand and activated carbon and everything else. And there's lots of stuff online for that. Just personally, I would recommend buying a filter, because when you buy a filter, they've already been tested. Not that specific filter, but the filter has been, the design and everything else has been tested and proven to work. Where if you make your own filter, say you have to have a certain amount of sand or something in it, and as you're filling it with water, it digs into that sand and redistributes it. Suddenly, where you're pouring that water into the filter, you don't have as much sand as you had in that direct spot. I'm just saying. And that would only be probably an absolute last-ditch effort for me if I couldn't boil the water, use a regular filter, didn't have bleach or iodine. There's that. There is another method, which it has been proven to work. It just is very time-consuming. And by time-consuming, I mean, and you also have to hope for the right weather conditions, and that is sunlight or UV rays. If you put water into a clear bottle that is no more than 2 inches in thickness, and you have to leave it in direct sunlight for, I believe it's 6 to 8 hours, it will kill off 99% of the bacteria in the water. Now, when doing this, every little bit of murkiness in the water will add time to how long it will take for it to sanitize. Pretty much, if there's murkiness in it, you're pretty much stuck to, when that murkiness settles, it would probably settle down to the bottom, and then I would say 6 to 8 hours from that point. But there's that method too if all else failed. But I would go with one of the previous methods first. That's what I would do. Sorry about that. I had to stop recording for a minute, but I am back, and we were talking about water storage, especially drinkable water storage, potable water, I should say. And we are on to the storage aspect. My favorite method of storing water is recycling 2-liter pop or soda bottles or Coke bottles, whatever you want to call them in whatever area you are of the country. I'm in Michigan, so we call it pop. But soda bottles, they're built to withstand the acids that are in carbonated beverages, especially like Coke or Pepsi. So they're able to withstand quite a bit, unlike the 1-gallon water jugs that you can buy in the grocery stores and stuff, where over time the plastics that they're made out of start to degrade to the point where they become very fragile. So yeah, Coke bottles, 2-liter bottles, even if you yourself don't drink them, I'm sure that you can talk friends or family that do drink pop or soda into saving them for you, even if they your state has a deposit on them, a bottle deposit. I'm in Michigan. We have a 10-cent deposit on the bottles, and generally I know a lot of people that will just let them accumulate for years in their garage and not take them back in. And if they want 10 cents a bottle for them, it's still worth it compared to other costs for storage methods. I mean, there are a lot of storage methods for water. Another thing would be 5-gallon buckets. But make sure that you do get the FDA approved or compliant buckets. That way, it's not that big of a deal, but it is to a point. It just depends. They say that if they aren't FDA compliant, the plastics in them can leach into the water. Whether or not that's really a factor, if it's used, I would be really leery to use it unless it was used for food product. In that case, if it was used for food, like bakeries will use them a lot of times. And like there's the pickle buckets that you'll see some restaurants use, everything. Those will be FDA compliant plastics. There's been rumors in the past that if you get a certain type of bucket that has a specific recycling mark, like a number 2 plastic, or I don't know all the different plastic grades and stuff, that there's one of those that are always safe for food storage. And that, I believe, is just an urban myth. There's the possibility. It seems like if it was... But I don't believe that it's the plastic itself. I believe it's the chemicals that are used to process the plastic is what the FDA compliant means. So food grade buckets, those work. When you get those, though, make sure that you get a good lid that's actually going to be watertight. And if you get one that's going to be watertight, you shouldn't have to worry so much. Like if you store it in a basement or someplace that is prone to flooding, because theoretically it should keep, as long as it's sealed properly, it should keep the seal so no contaminants get into the water. But with the buckets, make sure that you get them with the lids with a spout, I would recommend. Just because it does make it easier to pour it that way. Otherwise, you probably would spill quite a bit of water. I mean, you can do it without spilling, but sometimes it takes some practice and everything. And in a situation where water is scarce, you don't want to waste, a quarter of a bucket of water to spillage. So, like I said, you can get them with the lids. Otherwise, if you can get the Gamma lids, which are the resealable lids with like the screw off top in the center. You could do that and then get like a little hand pump, or even just get a big ladle and scoop the water out. But you could do that, and that would help out quite a bit. There's also barrels. Once again, make sure that you get a barrel that is either FDA compliant, brand new, or get one that has been used for food products. I had mentioned pickle buckets when it comes to the 5-gallon buckets. I'm not a big fan of the pickle buckets just because, they do work, except for the fact that you always have the pickle smell. It's really hard to get the pickle smell out of them. But there's that, and they have that in the barrel form too, like the 50-gallon barrels. But as long as you get it where it is FDA compliant, you should be okay. With the barrels also, generally with those, they're going to be plastic. I wouldn't use the metal ones. The metal ones would probably keep the water from developing algae a little bit. If you keep it outside or something, it'll help out a little bit more. But over time, it does have a tendency to start rusting. That and most of the metal barrels, I believe they're going to be not necessarily the best for water storage, just because a lot of times the metal buckets or the metal barrels are normally used for chemicals, or they could have like grease in them to preserve them and everything. You can get some that do have like an enamel in the inside, but I'd still be really leery to use it. The plastic ones are probably also going to be cheaper, and they'll last longer, that's for sure. But with the barrels, make sure that you get like a pump for them. You can buy like a siphon pump or different types of pumps to actually stick into the spout on them. But you'll need one of those to access the water or drain the water, unless you want to put an actual like spigot on it or something. There's that. I've also seen them in the past where people have been able to put a watertight spigot at the bottom of them, which would be nice as well. But there's that as an option. Also, there's also the water tanks. You can go out and buy the commercial water tanks, like 500 gallon, 1,000 gallon, up to 10,000 gallon, or larger. You can get those. You can get them custom made to different sizes as well. And those would probably work better for like a water catchment system. Just because with rainwater, it does accumulate quite a bit. You do get especially if you're in an area that it rains often, you could fill up, like 1,000-gallon reservoir really fast. Probably less than a month worth of rain. I'm gonna actually. It just depends on the size of your catchment. But there's those with water storage. You can, with water storage, depending on what it is that you're storing it in, you may also want to sort of monitor where you store the storage device at. Like if it is outside, sunlight, especially like the water tanks, like if you went down to your local Tractor Supply or hardware store and bought a big clear water tank, if they're clear and they're outside, the sunlight going through the plastic can cause them to develop algae, just turn the water green so much faster. So if you do that, there is a company, I don't know the name of it, I don't have any links to it at all, but I've heard that there's a company that actually makes zip-on liners, like real thick mill plastic liners that will go over some of these pallet size, like 500-gallon water tanks. And those will keep out the UV light or the sunlight that will cause the algae. But there's so many different methods to storing water. And just look and see what works best for you. That's all I can suggest. And that's all I have for you with this episode. I hope that this helped. Like I said, in light of what's happening in Flint, Michigan with the lead in their water, I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to talk about water storage for drinkable water. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, podcast@APIIINation.com. That's AP Roman numeral 3 nation.com. And like I said, come and find me on our new social media website, WTPrevolution.com. Look for Charlie01 and send me a friend request. I have no problem with that. But if you guys have any questions, comments, anything, I'd love to hear them. I'd put them on the air if you want me to. And also, come and find us on YouTube now, where I will also be posting these podcasts. But for now, this is Charlie01 signing off.